All right, so long time coming. It was 2 weeks of skipping out on it, and now we're actually here. So I think we'll just leave with introductions. So who am I speaking with today?
So I'm Jake. I'm one of Mike's good friends. We've been serving together in Hawaii for quite some time, and it was our idea to start a podcast. Obviously, the Pricky Six was, I guess, five of us, but we're here with the two originals,
Mm-hmm.
and this is. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Okay, so for the sake of the podcast, you just call me Mike, but my first name is Michael, last name Caldwell. Um, I guess saying where I'm from is kind of difficult at times because I'm an Army brat. So for y'all that don't know what an Army brat is, I would imagine the majority of people that are listening would have some sort of understanding of what it is. But an Army brat is a child of a soldier, an Army soldier. I don't know what a child of a Navy soldier would be, but I'm an Army brat. So my dad served in the Army for a little over 21 years. Retired as a first sergeant. So it's hard for me to answer that question just because I claim one place, but I say I'm from everywhere. I was born in Germany. From Germany, I went to JBLM, so Washington State. From there, I went to Fort Knox, Kentucky. Fort Knox, Kentucky, I went to El Paso, Texas, or Fort Bliss, Texas. Went to Fort Polk, Louisiana, and then my dad and my family found ourselves back in Fort Bliss, where he retired. So I claim El Paso, and ironically enough, it was my first duty station as well. So El Paso, Texas is what it is. Texas, die hard, like it, love it. A little bit more about me. I've been serving for almost 7 years now. April will be 7 years. I have a family, I have a wife, a daughter. I think we'll get more into that probably on a later date, but Army probably consumes a little bit too much of my time, probably a little bit too much of both of our times in general, for being honest. But hobbies, I like lifting. That's probably like the thing that has my attention for the most part right now, other than my daughter, to say the least. But video games, lifting. There was a point that the Army was probably my biggest hobby as well. I just like being social with people that I trust. I guess I say I'm not an extrovert, but I do like to have mature and not in a weird way, but I like to have good conversations. So I think that's where the concept of this podcast came from, because myself and Jake and a few other friends that we'll probably get on here later, but like Michael and a couple other friends that we would have such great conversation with each other. Good meaningful stuff that we're actually, like I'm 25. How old are you?
28.
Yeah, I'm 25. That's probably something y'all should know. But, we're not exactly the same age, but a lot of our friends in our small circle, I'll say, that we can all learn something from each other. And I think that's the point of it. Before I take it over to Jake, is I think it doesn't necessarily matter where you're from. This is all stuff and philosophies that people have expanded on more than probably we can, but especially in the Army. Not that this isn't like a military podcast. We're not talking about like tactics, and we could probably talk about leadership, because obviously we're both in leadership positions or have served in leadership positions for quite a long time. But the Army of all places will take people from across the planet and put them in situations to where, in the strangest things, you can relate to them. Like Jake and I had a conversation a little bit earlier about some stuff for about 2 hours that I never even knew about him. And I know this guy pretty decently well, and I'm probably going to get to know him a little bit more as we do these podcasts and have more conversations in his home. But just you can take something from everybody. You can always can, and if you have this idea that you can't, that's where you kind of are, I would even say, doing a disservice to yourself, honestly.
Yeah.
So a little bit about me. Obviously, if you guys or whoever's listening care to listen a little bit more, you're going to find out more. I think I'm pretty funny. I mean, that sounds pretty funny right now, but I've been told I am funny. I guess that's not really what funny people say, but that's all I really got right now. What do you got, Jake?
Well, I'm going to say we had that conversation earlier. I wish we would have recorded it, but obviously we got to do the first one like introductions wise, but
For sure.
I think moving forward, we're just gonna do things raw. Like as soon as you come in, hit the record button and we'll just talk.
Mm-hmm.
But I failed to introduce my dog Ishik. She's also here laying down.
Yeah, she's present.
Yeah, she's laying down. But for the listeners and then hopefully for the viewers someday, I'm Jake, 28 years old. I'm born and raised in Maine. I left home when I was 18 to pursue my career in the military, which I love. Spent my first couple years in Missouri after I graduated basic training. Served on various teams for like special reaction team type stuff. Moved to Germany where I spent 3 years there. Went to Fort Bragg, jumped out of planes for a little bit, and then went to Colorado to join SFAB, which is another podcast in its own. And then I'm here. And this podcast is not just for military members, but it's for, I guess, anyone that wants to listen to just, I guess, two grown men talking and just having a conversation about life, news, military, everything. Like, we're just going to talk, and then we hope that you just listen and then comment on whatever platform that we're on. And if you have any ideas on what you want to hear our thoughts about, just go ahead from there. But yeah, I'm stoked to start this podcast. Like I said, we're the Pricky Six, and we're going to pretty much be for the people, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Whoever listens, I imagine probably people that we work with are going to hear this and probably.
Oh, it's going to be people that we work with that most likely will listen at first, but hopefully we get to the bigger platform. You know what I mean?
For
and
sure.
We're not here to, get 1 million followers. We're just here to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And helping people is what we do as military police officers, and that's what we do. And whatever you need, whatever you want to know or something, put it in the comment section, and we'll try to talk about it next podcast.
I guess that's a good point. I don't think either of us even mentioned that. Like we're both MPs, military police officers. Why did you pick MP?
Well, originally, my grades were so bad that I decided to join the military because I wanted to be a cop when I got out. But my original plan was to be a track athlete in Maine, but my grades didn't correspond with.
I didn't even know you ran track. What did you run in track?
I did everything. I was a sprinter, long distance. I was a jumper thrower. Like, they wanted me to be a decathlete to do all these events. And the head coach for the university that I wanted to run for said, you can't compete at this level because of your grades. He was like, go to the community college for half a semester, prove to admissions that you can compete grade-wise, and then I'll get you and you won't miss one meet before the outdoor or the indoor season. And I said, if you don't want me now, you won't want me then. So I'm joining the Army. And he was like, best of luck, brother. And I was like,
that was it.
That was it. Yeah,
you're no good to me
because
now.
I did a college tour for football as well, and it was just too expensive. And they said, we can't offer you a scholarship quite yet. Do one, I don't know what you call it, one
like a walk on.
Yeah, do like a walk on, but like do one semester, I guess it is.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about scholarships. And I was like, I can't afford that.
Yeah. So I would say, it's great. I don't even know why I picked MP. I just so my dad served. He was a tanker, so I wanted to be a tanker. Looking back on it, I don't know if I would want to be a tanker, but I was always infatuated with Abrams, like the tank that we use in the Army. That's like because I'm a kid and. Like our motor pool is just Humvees and MATVs now, or back in the day it used to be ASVs. And his motor pool is, 50 to, I don't know, exaggerate, maybe like 100 Abrams. And I'm just watching, he's a senior enlisted person at this point. Like at first I'm just watching these guys turning on the tanks, and they would like cook hot dogs, like, because I'm a kid, they're cooking hot dogs on the exhaust, and they're like jets, and I'm just like, and tanks are we cussing on the podcast?
Say whatever the fuck we want.
I mean, even to this day, I think tanks in general, like the baddest thing on like the fucking planet. Like
they're nuts. Yeah.
You can't like they'll run over shit.
Brad Pitt.
They'll blow shit up. Yeah. They go like 60 miles an hour. Like they're pinpoint accuracy. So I wanted to be a tanker, And I knew I was gonna join the army. Like I didn't like cause so like you wanted to be like an athlete in college. I knew that I wanted to join the military. I'll say that army was like probably like my first choice, but I knew I was gonna join the army to the point where, like in my high school, they did like the day the colleges would come out and there wasn't really class. You kind of like go to little tables and get pamphlets and stuff like that, or like they would take times like, okay, hey students, you're gonna apply for some scholarships today, and I would just sit and look on the computer on shoes. I would Google shoes and how much they cost and stuff like that.
Working more than threes.
Yeah, I would look. Yeah, exactly. I'm working at Jack in the Box. I'm I'm gonna whatever. So I'm like, okay, hey Michael, you need to have a plan B. You need to have a plan B. So we got the time now. So I actually wasn't even able to initially. So I was gonna do because I graduated at 17. Reason being is because when, I don't know what age it is you start pre-K, but where I lived, the state I lived in at that time didn't offer pre-K. So the age that you enter school, I went to kindergarten. So I was always a year younger than my classmates. Or whatever, like my birthday is like right before, like my birthday is in September. So everyone that's probably born in September knows what I'm talking about. So I was going to do the thing where I joined at 17. So like the recruiter, so I went to the recruiter with my dad, Army recruiter. I'm with the guy. Don't know my recruiter's name. Shame on me, but I was honest on my forms, allergies, injuries, whatever the nature. So we get to the allergy portion. I'm like, I'm allergic to fish. So I thought, right? I love me some sushi now as a 25. I'm wearing a Bass Pro Shop hat now with a fish on it. I should probably be dead, but because I had a really bad reaction to it when I was little. So I put on my form, like, I'm allergic to fish. Like a week later, he's like, hey, you're flagged for your allergy. I'm like, a fish allergy? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, dude, you'd be allergic to penicillin
literally.
And die. Like I would just get hives and get an EpiPen and be straight. He's like, yeah, unfortunately you can't join the army. I'm sorry, kid. I was like, holy crap, So I'm still
some Momoa in there.
So, so I'm still in high school at this point. So I was like, I'm gonna try the Marines. My dad was like, are you dead set in the military? Or you dead set in the army? I'm like, military. So we go to the Marines. Marines move with a quickness. Like I didn't take an ASVAB with the army. I took an ASVAB with the Marines. I go in the Marine places, just different vibes. Hey, what's it? Hey, brother, it's Monday. You came in here. You took the ASVAB on Wednesday. Took the ASVAB. Went through the whole process. Hey man, don't worry about that allergy shit. We got you. A week later, they call me, hey brother, the system that we use is the same system that the Army has, and you're still flagged, and it's a process to get it removed. So probably like one of the lowest points of my life was this. I'm graduated. I'm 18. Well, I eventually turned 18. Working at Jack in the Box. Gained like shit you not 50 pounds. I'm Jack in the Box. I'm eating chicken nuggets off exactly. No, I would have
slurping.
I would no. Everyone if you listen to this podcast, I like ranch. I would get a 20 count chicken nugget and get 20 ranches and eat it like that. So I was just didn't know what I was gonna do with my life, et cetera, et cetera. And my dad eventually reconnected with one of his old friends that he served with that was a recruiter. And he's like, just catching up with a friend. He's like, yeah, it's I don't know if I'm even telling the story correctly. It's just a story that I know. And I guess the conversation with my dad and his friend was like, yeah, it's fucked up, man. My son wasn't able to join off this bullshit with his fish allergy. My friend's like, fish allergy? Let me see what I can do. He didn't pull strings. Like I'm not serving as I'm not saying I shouldn't be serving right now, because obviously 7 years later,
You're not the Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
Fifth man of the year award.
But I eventually had to eat. I ate a McDonald's fillet of fish in front of a doctor. Didn't die, and that wasn't enough. I took the skin test where they prick you in your arm to see you react. Didn't die, wasn't enough.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. So, and then I eventually had to go to an allergist. Like Army, because Army medicine, as everyone knows, is not the best.
The brightest in the bunch.
So I had to get a referral to an allergist, and I'm sitting in the allergist as an 18-year-old kid, and the doctor comes in, a civilian, and he's like, "What are you here for?" He's like, are you allergic to fish? I'm like, no. I'm like breaking down, crying. I'm like, sir, I'm just trying to join the army. Like, I'm just trying
to serve my country.
I'm just trying to do something with my life. At this point, I'm just trying to do something with my life other than just put French fries in the fryer. I didn't flip burgers. They didn't even trust me enough to flip burgers. I was just putting shit in oil and pushing a button for a timer. He's like, okay, so he wrote a memo pretty much, saying that I can join and I didn't have any allergies. But so back on the MOS thing, so when I'm in the recruiting office, finally, I don't even, other than infantry, truck driver, Cav Scout, fueler, stuff that doesn't really require you to be
sustainment.
Yeah.
Just like some type of help.
Other than that, I'm just seeing them, and then at that point too, I'm like, okay, don't want to die, don't want to die, don't want to die, don't want to drive trucks,
literally,
don't want to die. MP pops up. I'm like, okay, if this army thing doesn't work out, quote unquote law enforcement experience, I can be an MP.
Absolutely, yeah.
So MP, I was on an airplane. First time I ever flew by myself was to Fort Leonard Wood, and then I guess the rest is history. If you can go back in time, would you still pick MP?
So, I would say I have like a two-sided story. So, before I joined, I was working at a bakery, which is a Canadian franchise called Tim Hortons.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like the donut guy. I was making donuts, and it's ironically enough that I became a cop because I was making donuts. But I was also working at a corner store,
like a gas station kind of.
Yeah, and I was making pizzas. I was, running the cash register. And what's funny to me now is I wanted to be a cop when I got out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went to the recruiting office, I originally wanted to go Navy, but my test scores were so low, I couldn't be in the Navy. Mm-hmm. So they referred me to the Army, and my stuff came back where it was linen specialist, which was, I guess, someone that just washes sheets. It was a culinary artist, which is defect worker, and then it was infantry. And I called my father when my stuff came back, and I was like, Dad, these are my options. Infantry's on the route. And I literally, I remember driving, I remember the exact moment where I told them that was, Dad, they offered me infantry, but I'm 18 years old. I don't know if I can kill someone right now. And that's what's like, I've spent 10 years in the military. And now I know, like, the reason why I joined was to help people and to fight the war on terror. And that's all I want to do.
Yeah.
And do I wish I would have joined infantry? It would have been a better route, I guess. But God gifted me the ability to be an MP, meet people like you, and go our ways. But I think if I could change anything, it would have been retaking the ASFAB and then I guess stay on the same path I am. Because I am happy. I say I'm unhappy every day, but
as every day.
Yeah. But all the homies like you and then everyone else, I would never want to miss out on those friendships. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess that is the difficult point of asking a question like that, is because I guess if you asked me if I could go back in time and if it was possible to still, I guess, meet the people I've met, because my wife is in the Army too, as an MP. Granted at that time, women weren't allowed in the infantry.
Yeah.
But if I could, because I say this all the time, if my career / life panned out even closely to how my life has panned out as an MP, I probably would have done infantry.
Yeah, because everyone wants to jump out of airplanes and shoot guns.
Well, not everybody. Well, yeah,
but that's when you lay your head down at night. That's
because I think what draws me to infantry more than anything, and I'm not saying that this thing doesn't exist in the MP Corps, is the camaraderie. I think what we lack in, I guess, camaraderie, they have in that, which that phrase is misery breeds company.
This close.
They're going through probably, you know, infantry is probably the toughest MOS in the Army, other than when you go Green Beret and stuff like that. But just being a grunt, and you know, we see them even here at Schofield, like they're rucking in the middle of the road at like 3 p.m.
Yeah, they were just walking the other day covered in mud and water.
Yeah.
I'm like, man.
Yeah, and the weather here right now isn't great. And it's like, now as a staff sergeant, I'm just like, yeah, no thank you.
I'm sitting in my Tesla watching them, and I'm
Right,
like,
exactly.
I feel bad, dude.
But then, you know, but yeah, like you mentioned before, like the people that I've met, or even just like that aspect of like, I have definitely, as an MP, well, I hope, impacted people. I'll never know, like responding to those calls with those calls with people that are going through hard times, or their relationship is they have a physical relationship with their spouse, and et cetera, or getting children out of like really bad situations. Like I've been there, and I've done stuff like that, but I'll never know, you know what I'm saying? Like as an infantryman, like you can kind of see that stuff go down, because an infantryman, all you know is a gun, a truck, and the sergeant in charge of you telling you to shoot the gun and drive the truck. You know what I'm saying? But I would even say, I've had a conversation with you before about this. I think the blessing and the curse of the MP Corps is how independent we are. Because a PV2 or a PFC, because everyone's coming in as a PFC now, I don't know why, but
Come out as an E6.
right? But well, you can now. Yeah, have you seen that? That's a real thing. You can.
I was joking.
No, that's a real thing. You can.
I get people that have one day in the Army, they're already outranking me.
No, I swear to God, if you join the Army in the Army band, you come in as a staff sergeant. Swear to God.
We're gonna continue this.
I'm not joking.
We're gonna continue this podcast because that's gonna be a debate.
I swear to God.
I'll lose my marbles.
But anyway, but like as a PFC, yeah, as a PFC, as an MP, you're kind of forced to figure stuff out on your own, because you're alone in that patrol vehicle, in the cop car.
Let me ask you this though. This is one thing I take pride in, but how many times have you found yourself responding to a call and then coming back a couple of days later to check in on them? Do you do that?
No.
You don't?
I've never done that. I don't think I've had. You're talking about like I go to.
So say you go to like a domestic call, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like they may or may not be guilty.
Mm-hmm.
Do you go back the next day or the following Tuesday to check in on them to see how they're doing?
No. You've done that?
Damn, I put you on the spot. Every call I go to, whether it is literally a minor call,
mm-hmm.
I always follow back the next day.
Really?
I always stop by to check in.
I've never done that. I mean, that's interesting. I've definitely run. There's this one guy here in particular that, not a bad kid, but and he didn't get any trouble. He didn't get arrested or nothing.
And mind you, for the viewers or listeners, you're not supposed to do that, but I do it because I want to make sure they're safe. But we'll
I mean, but by all means, I mean, we are technically like public servants. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I just want to help.
Yeah, but there's this one kid here. I mean, I don't know how old he is, but there's this one guy here that I run into him twice a week. But my times when I interacted with him wearing an MP vest and stuff like that, he's just always like in like really like shitty situations. Like he's just with the wrong group.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So I guess I'm not really like checking in on this guy. But like the last time I saw him, me and one of our peers were eating at the PX when I saw him. Sorry, he's like, sorry, I run to you everywhere. Sorry, now I'm like, hey man, you staying out of trouble, stuff like that. Like that's. Yeah. I guess that's like the closest thing I can say to that, but yeah, the MP world is different to say the least, just because you have to kind of, the scenarios you would imagine a cop goes to, you can't really, because they're all so different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a fine line between
an L-shaped ambush is never going to change. A wedge is never going to change. Putting a 45-pound ruck on your back and just marching is never going to change.
It's all the same.
Yeah, but when for anyone listening, or whether you law enforcement or are an MP, you go to what is a quote unquote normal call can turn
It's never
really. It's never a normal call.
It's never a normal call.
It's never a normal call because people have emotions, people have tempers and stuff like that, and then all it takes is
you get dispatched to a civil disturbance, and all of a sudden there's someone with a gun with a baby as a hostage. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's crazy. Like,
yeah,
there's someone's wife that's over there completely broken down and
yeah,
with a gun, and I'm just like, what's going on? Like,
Yeah.
I get called to a noise disturbance, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden
it turns into something else.
it turns into something crazy.
Yeah. Which is why I would never do law enforcement outside the Army.
Which is also another podcast that we'll talk about. But to kind of turn back to what I was talking about on why I check in was when I was in Germany, I was fueling up the police car, and a woman came up to me and was like, "Hey, who do I need to talk to for domestic violence?" And I was like, I mean, you can talk to me. It's okay. Like, whatever you need, I can help you with. And she was like, I'm scared. I can't talk to you in public. So I gave her the FAP card, like the Family Advocacy Program card. And I was like, I'm going to check in. I was like, can we meet back here? And she's like, I got to go. Well, a couple weeks later, I'm in the gym. I'm working out. And this woman walks up to me while I'm running on the treadmill. She stops the treadmill and looked at me and was like, I can't thank you enough for what you did. And I was like, I've been trying to look for you for a couple of weeks now. Like, is everything okay? And she was like, he's gone now. I'm safe. Like, he's not hitting me anymore. And I was like, you know what? Like, that's the end goal.
Yeah.
Is to be safe. And it was just, she just walked up on another treadmill, stopped mine, and was like, thank you. And I'm like, you can't beat that, dude.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. That's what we do, dude.
Yeah.
It's fucking so cool.
Yeah, I guess I would say that's also like a positive thing about our MOS because there's not really, like as a grunt or whatever MOS you are, like you don't really feel like an infantryman. Like I always refer to infantryman. I guess it's because like it's like the basic MOS, I guess, which is not a knock, not a knock on their MOS, but like I think for an infantryman, like they feel gratification when they're in the field or deployed. Like
doing something, yeah.
We feel gratification doing stuff like that, making an apprehension when we have to, saving, quote unquote, saving people when we have to.
But I will say, like, sorry, I mean, interrupt, but like, people in the Army always say we're the most hated MOS, but we could have 99% of the Army hate us, but that 0.001% that love us because we fixed whatever they were like dealing with is why we do it.
And that's law enforcement in general. Like even me, I don't really find joy in police officers.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, but like like if I've never called 911 for myself. Like I think I've called 911 like because I witnessed an accident or something like that. But
getting that kid out of the tree is pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's just like anything else. Like you don't like insurance. I hate paying for insurance because I'm not out here wrecking my truck every other week, but I definitely need it. Like, and everyone knows there's a MP working 24/7, 365 across the globe, across every duty station, whether they like it or not, whether they're behind a bush, behind a motor pool, playing watching TikToks now, or actually out there running and gunning and doing traffic stops and stuff like that. But something else you didn't talk about that I know you don't really find enjoyment talking about, but you have something that not a lot of MPs have. Ranger tab. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, it's kind of one of those weird things. A lot of MPs don't have Ranger tabs, and I'm humbled to bear mine, but I was fortunate enough to join SFAB in Colorado, and I was assigned to an infantry battalion, and a lot of the cats didn't have Ranger tabs, but the leaders did, and being part of the 4th SFAB was like, be an infantryman. My BC who selected me, my sergeant major who selected me, that was part of the thing, and I walked in and every day was just how can I better this organization. And And then one day the sergeant major came in, the brigade sergeant major came in. He was like, Weiss, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to go to Ranger School. He was like, all right, I'll see your packet tomorrow on my desk. And at that point, I just wanted to prove everyone wrong because I was getting called a pogue every day. And I'm not talking Outer Banks pogue. I'm talking like I'm a pogue every day. And I'm getting called pogue by people that don't bear the tab. So I was like, I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving these motherfuckers wrong. And did the pre-ranger. They selected me to do 10 ranger school. Went to ranger school. Recycle mountain phase, which is another podcast in its own. But yeah, graduated with a ranger tab. And, being back in the conventional army, being back in SFAB was one thing because no one knew your MOS. So it was, they just see my patch with a ranger tab and they just assumed that I was an infantryman.
Yeah.
But coming back to the MP world, they see me with a ranger tab and they're like, who are you? Mm-hmm. And it's a blessing too, but it's also a curse because no one knows my name. Mm. They just know the tab. It's the MP that has the tab. Mm-hmm. But I would say the greatest thing about doing that is I talked to my father last week. It was actually last week. And I was like, Dad, I'm at brigade now. Like, everyone knows me, but they don't know me. They just know Ranger Tab. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I don't want that anymore. I want soldiers to have Rangers tabs as well. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be the only one. I want to produce more Rangers in the MP world.
Mm-hmm. Or just in general. But I'm like, in the MP world, no one has it. There's like 7 of us in the army. I'm like, I just need more of us. Like, let's create more Rangers. And he was like, you know what to do? And I was like, that's the best advice I could ever get, dude. And I'm like, I know what to do. And yeah, but being an MP Ranger is definitely it's like a sore thumb, but it's also like a thumb that you want. Yeah.
Because I was actually talking to a lieutenant last week. It was actually funny. I was on the phone with my dad in the car, and then I talked to a lieutenant literally in the parking lot, literally the same minute. And he asked me what was the best thing about Ranger School, and I said, my best friends. I said I could call anyone right now that I went to Ranger School with, and I have their back, and they have mine.
That's not what you told me. You said I asked you what the best. I asked you what the best thing about Ranger School. You said the graduation.
Oh, the graduation.
He said graduated, get it out of Ranger School.
But like another thing that I told him, I said if I was to need something, right, any command level, colonel above, sergeant major above, if they bared the tab as well as me, if I asked them for something, they would.
Because it's a community.
It's a brotherhood.
Yeah.
Or a sisterhood, because some of the best Rangers I've ever met were females. It's a brother or sisterhood. Mm-hmm. And I love that.
Yeah.
And being an MP with it is just, you can go to a call at an infantry brigade and motherfuckers see me with the tab and they're like, okay, we'll listen to you.
Yeah. Yeah, that presence, like the Army likes to call it.
It's dominant.
God damn.
It's dominant.
But you're not wrong.
It's dominant.
Yeah, right.
Because what's the first thing you look at when you look at someone's uniform? Because the first thing I look at is their left sleeve.
The first thing I look at in uniform is if they're fat.
Well, that's
what.
But like,
yeah, but you're right.
To me, I look at their left sleeve.
The right shoulder, and if they got some.
You look at their right. You look at their left.
And they got a little candy above their U.S. Army. Yeah.
But you see a person that's bearing multiple tabs, you're automatically submissive.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
It's like a known thing.
100%. Because even in my time, including you, I've only met 3 other Ranger MPs.
And are they still in?
One of them isn't. My first sergeant in the Army was a Ranger.
So when I graduated Ranger School, the woman that I was seeing had the connections up top and did a pull, and I was the seventh person as an MP to bear the tab currently in the Army. And that was back in 20 whatever. So there's not many of us. And I need that to be like 30 something. I want to be like the 31st active. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I definitely fell into that, because you mentioned like the blessing and the curse thing. I definitely fell into I prejudged you. I don't think I've ever told you this. I probably wouldn't have ever told you this before, but I definitely prejudged you before I knew you because of that. Is that there was a rumor when you were coming here that you were supposed to come to my platoon.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "Oh, this guy's a ranger." Like they didn't.
Arrogant.
I never knew your name.
Arrogant.
It was just ranger. This guy's a ranger.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm never getting 1 of 3 now. Like, it's impossible. Like,
yeah.
You know. And then they're like, "Oh, he's gonna come to our platoon. He's gonna take this person's spot because this one's leaving." I'm like, I'm screwed. Like, this guy's gonna be a certain way. This guy's gonna, for lack of terms, he's gonna everyone's gonna have his you know what in their you know what kind of thing. And I don't even think I stopped being defensive around you until we went to ESB.
And that's another story, but mind the listeners, whoever listening, I graduated Ranger School. I am not a Ranger. Obviously, Rangers are 1 through 3 in the battalions. I just graduated Ranger School, and I bear the tab, but I am not a Ranger. So, but Mike and I went through ESB, and that's a story. We won't call it the 9-line quite yet, but it's a story in its own.
Yeah.
That was one of the worst days of my life, seeing you, and I'm like sitting and I'm watching you, man, and I'm like, come on, dude, you can do it. And I wish, because the homie across the street like literally helped me out, and I'm like, man.
Yeah, I blame y'all. Low key, I'm just joking, but I low key blamed y'all in that moment, because it was like the 5 of us left. It was me, you, the commander, I don't know Kirby's first name, and Brenton.
And ESB is an expert soldier badge for those listening.
And we're going through,
and we went through a month long, and we're going through one of the final days, and
didn't cut the mustard.
Mike lost his marbles on the 9-line medevac, which is a medical request for aviation, and he just failed it royally. And we were all sitting there. There was a bunch of us from the Pricky Six originally.
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna try and go again.
Mike's an expert soldier regardless. You know what I mean?
Some would say otherwise.
You just don't bear the badge.
Might as well be.
He just don't know low flying pickup.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of your goals? I guess we can kind of talk about that a little bit too. Like what do like a typical thing in the Army is like short term, long term. What are what's like a short term and a long term goal?
So,
Army wise,
I would say literally my only goal, like short and long term, is to finish my degree.
Masters or bachelors?
Bachelors. I recently just signed up for classes that start in March. And then I also signed up for courses that start in June, which I am doing Arabic. I'm trying to learn Arabic. And the reason behind that is I'm just trying to broaden like my mind. But I'm ready to call it quits whenever they call it quits, you know what I mean? Like I don't really have much goals. Like a lot of the goals that I've already set towards myself I've already accomplished. And now I just want to be honestly, I recently had a son, and I just want to be a good dad. If someone was to ask me, and it literally happened last week, they asked me if I was going to go to jungle school. And I was like, I don't plan to. And they're like, why? I said, because it's a piss poor excuse, because it's literally created because you're not going to be a ranger. And they were like, okay. And then they were like, are you going to go to air assault school? And I was like, nope, because I'm a paratrooper. Like, all of these, like...
For those listening, I am air assault. Okay.
But, like...
That is something I do have.
all of these courses and badges, the stuff that would deter me from like being a better person, send somebody else because I'm already happy. I just want to continue my education. I want to like live my life in a seldom environment with my dog and not be asked upon. Like if there's a slot that comes up for air assault and they reserve me, okay, cool. Let's try to send someone else. If you can't, I'll go do it. Well, my goal right now is just to graduate college and then I guess eventually long-term goals, get my master's and then doctorate if I can, whatever it is. But as far as military-wise goes, I'm so happy with like my life right now. I have my dog and I'm good.
That's good.
What about you?
God, so I'm a little bit different.
You're way different because you got the wife and the kid at home.
Yeah, well, I'm not even about that. But I just in the.
I stay there.
I am a very goal oriented person. So, like I just got my associates in criminal justice.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Didn't know you did that.
But I want to start my bachelor's in nutrition because if there's anything I don't want to do anything when I retire. My goal after retirement is to die.
Actually, we'll spades. We'll re-end this and say, hopefully, my long-term goal is to continue this podcast.
That's a very good point as well.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Continue.
But you're good. No, just I would say just. I guess if I could say one goal Army-wise, because I have a lot of goals. I would say my one Army goal is I want to be the person that people refer to in the best moments of their career, if that makes sense. Like
that's perfect.
I can do that about people from my past. Names, we'll probably get into that a little bit later. I'll probably ask these people if they want to even be mentioned on the vast internet or whatever the case is, but I want to be one of those people. I want to be one of those people that were like, I am this way because Sergeant Caldwell taught me this. Sergeant Caldwell was the one that influenced me to be a better man or human being or woman or soldier or NCO, whatever the case is. But I think with that comes, I think rank plays a role, because I didn't want to say like, oh, I want to be command sergeant major, because that's not really.
I don't care what I retire as. I just want to make a difference.
Right. Because it's strange to me that I don't, depending on who listens to this, I don't know what happens. I want to see, because I think one of the main reasons I wanted to be a sergeant is because I wanted to know, where is this coming from? Like why am I being told this?
And then also you want to be in charge a little bit.
Selfishly,
I don't want to mop anymore.
Right? Yeah. Selfishly, I don't want to. So like, at Fort Bliss, my first duty station, we had to put light colored rocks with light colored rocks. We had to put, because there was no grass. We didn't mow grass, so we had to do stuff like put rocks back in the rocks, or because they would be in the road, stuff like that. But
it was all discipline stuff. It wasn't nothing to.
Yeah, it's not demeaning.
But now the war's over, people are like.
Yeah, it's people kind of fiddling their thumbs, but I think I want to be, because becoming a squad leader, like I wanted to see the behind the scenes of why is my packet taking so long to get signed? Why is my this and stuff that I can't really explain it very well right now, but I want to get to that level, the sergeant major level, and be like, okay, now I understand why we can't do these things that I wanted as a squad leader, because the squad leader is kind of like the stepdad of the Army. It's kind of like, I can like a stepdad is like, I can help you, but I'm not your real dad, like I care about you,
bread and milk.
Yeah, exactly. Especially, exactly. It's like, because especially like where staff sergeants come from in some soldiers' careers, it's like, because you're gonna get the brand new guys, and you're gonna be the only thing they know about the Army, but then you're also gonna have the those specialists that have quote unquote been on the block for a little bit,
Seasoned.
and they already have their person. They already have their dad that they
Yeah.
respect and they learn stuff from. So you come into the seat, it's like, hey, I'm just trying to build on what we already have and just make it better. Granted, I wish everyone had that mentality. I wish everyone. Not saying that the majority is selfish, but just I think where we've kind of lost ourselves as NCOs is that selfless aspect of it. Because like all the soldiers that are still in your previous company that are still in our company, they refer to you as someone that cared. Now, I'm not saying the other people that are still there don't care, but I'm saying if there's something that I want to be remembered for, it's something to that nature.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be known as that guy that did this or that guy that had this on their uniform or that guy that did this. I want to be the guy that soldiers refer to as like a really crucial point of their career.
Yeah, you could give two fucks of what soldiers remember you as, like for what you wear, but
Yeah.
it's who you are. And like I would say, the most humbling experience for me was when I was in. She farted and it smells. When I was in senior leader course and then I went on paternity leave, one of the greatest feelings I've had was when soldiers knew I was gone and they were still calling me.
Yeah.
Like I loved that.
Mm-hmm.
And even though like I'm gone from that unit, soldiers continue to call me, like we talked about earlier. Like soldiers are still calling me because I can get stuff done, and I'm like they know until the last breath I take, I'm gonna help them out the best I can.
Mm-hmm. Which isn't taken away from the current
leadership is outstanding.
Yes.
The
just gotta throw that out.
current leadership, but the soldiers entrust me enough to be like, hey, I respect you, and I'm comfortable with you. Can you help me out? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. There's nothing I'd rather do.
Yeah, because even I've done stuff like that too. Like when I first got here, I was definitely not, going to any new organization. I had to unlearn the isms of my previous place and learn the isms of here.
Yeah, it's a thing that we deal with every day in the military. But
and I would call my people from the past rather than refer to my current leadership. I would call my leadership in the past that I had that utmost respect for, and be like, hey, like, what should I do or how should I handle the situation and stuff like that? Because in a way, I kind of value their input more because I'm kind of used to it. Just like,
but like, I guess I'll name drop. If Nauman was to call you right now, what would you do? You'd immediately answer it.
Yeah, I would do that for anybody.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or any soldier that you've had, you'd immediately answer it. Mm-hmm. And I've looked at my phone multiple times and see people calling. I'm like, well, do I want to answer? Do I not? Mm-hmm. But when one of my soldiers calls me, regardless if I led them in the past or present, immediate answer.
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the strangest things about the Army in general is which is also kind of shocking until you, almost like I mentioned, like the behind the scenes thing, is because we're, in a way, we're kind of raising kids. Like, because even, like, I joined at 18, like, granted, I'm
still not grown up.
Yeah, that's not grown at all.
I'm not grown up at all. I'm 28 years
old.
old.
Even now, like, I still laugh at, like, butt jokes and stuff like that, but, like, I didn't, your like, stuff that young adults do, buy cars, spend a lot of money, stuff like all the problems that we all experience as leaders is just, like, doing taxes and stuff like that. Like, you have to take the time to, I think that's more important than showing someone how to lay prone and shoot an M4. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would rather teach someone how to be a good person. Because I think being a good person is a better foundation for someone rather than being a strong person or a illicit.
That's tough. Yeah,
like
really tough.
It's like because I think if you have that foundation, that's easier to go off of than nothing. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people, everyone, not even everyone in the Army has to unlearn, or they should unlearn who they used to be. Like, okay, not me, but you got someone that's from, like, the quote unquote, like, hood. Like, they're from the hood, they're this. They have to put on this, you know, this not facade, but they have to act a certain way to fit in. And they're 18. They get into a professional organization like the Army, and they're like, "Hey, dude, like, this is bigger than what you think it is. Like, this isn't where you're from. Like, this."
But at 18, you didn't even know who you were.
I still don't.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm 28 years old, and I still don't know who I am.
Yeah.
And I have a son. You have a daughter, and you're married, and you don't even know who you are yet.
Yeah.
And that's what's crazy is you're like, that's what we need. We need those leaders to be like, find out who you are. We'll go from there.
Yeah.
And that's what you don't find anymore.
No.
And that's what I'm trying to be.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so relaxed and so.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy to me, man.
Mm-hmm. But it's also crazy. It's also crazy how I would even go as far as saying that's almost how the Army is going. The direction is going.
Oh, it's driven that way. It's literally like signed off to go that way, man.
Because I would go as far as saying, I'm not. I haven't been in that long, but 7 years ago, like when I first joined, I think the difference is we were raised by combat veterans.
Force. We were raised by force.
Like it was common that every staff sergeant in battalion had a shoulder sleeve insignia or a cab. Probably both.
And you know what's funny is the other day, one of the original Pricky Six re-enlisted, and I went to his re-enlistment, sir, who couldn't be here today, but I went to his re-enlistment, and Alvarez, her and I were talking, and one of the weirdest conversations I ever had was lower enlisted soldiers are coming in the Army with a substantial amount of bonuses. But you take, I'm just going to use my resume for an instance, you're not giving me any bonus for staying in. Mm-hmm. You've already trained me, but if I get out, you've already lost literally like $1 million.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
But you want like a lower kid to come in, but I'm like, I could stay in for another 10 years, and you want this kid to come in with all these benefits. Like, what's the?
Yeah, I've had that conversation with other people too. It's like it's almost like
you're already trained, man.
Yeah, like granted, I don't know. I'm not a recruiter, and I'm definitely not like I don't know the statistics enough to really be the person, the POC of that, but it's definitely like I don't feel like the Army is doing the most they can to have the people that are already in stay in.
Yeah, they're not, man.
Because even I'm in my re-enlistment window right now. There's not a dime.
But we both get out. What's the next move? You lose all these qualified people, and then they get out.
Yeah, and then maybe that's the Army's way of like really changing the culture across the force. Yeah, maybe that's their way of doing it. Maybe it is a younger man's game now, because I mean NCOs are getting younger and younger as we see it. But granted, I'm subject of that as well. But I've definitely had that conversation with my wife. And my wife is also a staff sergeant as well. She's been in like pushing 6 now, but 6 years. But it's I definitely think about that. It's like, well, what are we, because for me, staying in, it's sustainability. Duty stations, schools.
It's a home.
It's where's my home going to be for the next 3 years, 2 years, or however long I enlist for.
Yeah.
But then for a new soldier, it's like they don't even have an idea of what the Army is, because even me being raised quote unquote military, I had this idea of what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was this gung ho,
living like Top Gun,
running. I thought it was just
Tom Cruise.
Yeah, I thought you just lived, breathed, shit the Army, just eating defect food. You just got like strong as shit. Like went to the gym, hazing and stuff like that. And then I joined. And it's just like, oh wow, this is not what I imagined at all. Which isn't a bad thing. It's not a good. It's not a good or a bad thing either.
Timetables of turntables. That's what it's called. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's definitely strange. It's definitely strange, and I wonder. I'm curious to see because even us. I mean, how long have you been in?
10 years.
10. I mean, just like if you do the whole 20, you got 10 more years. Like,
Literally.
I don't even like the Army's changed so much in 7. I can't even imagine what it's gonna look like in 3 years. I have no idea.
It could change tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think we're gonna wrap it up. Any last words for you?
Yeah, I guess I would say if you listen, thank you. If you listen and you work with us, please take what we say with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to disrespect anybody. We're not trying to disrespect any organization that we currently serve in or have served in. I hope that we are giving the people or the listeners something of value. Because there's stuff you can learn from what we're saying. And this, I'm not saying that the two of us sitting here are the end all be all. You should be this kind of leader. You should be this kind of man or person or parent or whatever the case is. But just listen. That's all you really can do. That's all. Even with soldiers, that's all you really can ask to do. Because even if what we're saying resonates with you, or it doesn't, you can take it with a grain of salt and kind of lead with what you want. Hopefully this continues. I think it will. If you care to listen, spread the word, tell your people, stuff like that, and then by all means, just keep driving, stay motivated. One of the big things I'll preach to the day I die, to my children if I have more, or my current child, or my soldiers, is just have a goal. Just in general, it could be civilian, it could be Army, just have goals and work towards them, whether it be on your off time, personal time, as long as you're trying to do something productive for you as a human being and as a man, as a woman, then that's good. That's all you can really ask for.
Yeah, just stay positive. We'll tune in next week. Hopefully you listeners ask certain things, but yeah, we love everybody. We're not keen to any type of folk, so comment, ask anything. We love you all. Ishik, I, and Mike will be in next week. We love you, and Pricky Six signing off.